Hello, welcome back to Cairncast. Apparently this might be a series called Cairngorm or Cairncast and Friends, which is why I'm here with a bloody good friend, Fraser,
Hello.
who fronts the Enterprise EH9 in Dundee, which is, for all salt, one of the best cafes in Scotland.
Wow.
I said it.
Wow. That's a
Better than
big
Cairngorm.
claim.
Definitely serves some pretty good coffee. So. But yeah, no, we're here. We're in the roastery. We're sitting on some coffee bags. We've got some coffee here. I've not actually had a sip. It's probably cold now. I'll pass the yours if you want.
Oh, thank you.
You should never touch the rim of a cup, should you? It's like really...
That's a rule in there.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Not a very good hospitality. Drinking Matambu Hill.
That's good.
Wash Burundi.
That's good.
We've also got some cakes here.
Too good to me. You're way too good to me.
By not a what they call it ad. I bought them, but from Room and Rumours, Edinburgh. Another great
They're
cafe.
great guys.
Yeah.
I love them.
I don't know if you eat things. They're vegan. So,
Oh, lovely.
Are you a veganer?
I'm not vegan, but I do indulge in vegan treats.
Yeah, I do eat things that aren't meat sometimes. I've literally just scoffed some of that before I started talking.
I don't know what the logistics of eating on a podcast are, though. But
I'll
keep it away from the mic.
Then. I'll keep you company. God, a lot of preamble. People aren't here to hear about me eating a donut. It's been a while since we did a wee podcast. We had a great one with Josh Tarlow from Headstand last week, I think, which is cool. It was quite unstructured, but this week I have EH9 questions to ask you. It could be a wee series. Basically, because this is quite unstructured. Apologies about the microphone situation as well, in case you didn't realise. We've gone high tech with the green tape, but ignoring that, I want to congratulate you on 2 years.
Oh, thank you very much.
That's kind of cool. How's that feel?
Crazy.
This isn't one of the questions, by the way.
Yeah, no, thank you. It came around really quickly, to be fair. We're often so summer, for anyone who doesn't know, we're right next to the uni, so summer can be quite quiet or quieter for us. But we always seem to find a way to make ourselves busy over our birthdays. So
Nice.
We were participating in an art festival this year, so didn't get much time to think about it and celebrate. But
That's something that seems to be quite core to your business at this stage. Like a lot of pop-ups.
Yeah,
Has that always been the plan? Right?
It was part of the plan, but it has grown arms and legs, and it is a big side of our business. Certainly, the wedding side of things. I never thought we would be a company that did weddings,
Here
and
you
it just
are,
sort
just
of
back
came.
from Barcelona.
I know, yeah, it just sort of came naturally and grew arms and legs. But I guess a lot of these things run on word of mouth, so it does seem quite reasonable that it has sort of just taken itself away and run with momentum.
Does the this is going to sound like don't diss anyone who's had a wedding, but does the financial gain warrant the extra effort of taking your Saturdays off and setting everything up in a new place?
So I quite like it because I've still got bags of energy. I've only been doing it 2 years, and the excitement that you get from setting up in a field or setting up in a really beautiful venue. So for anyone that doesn't know, we were out in I was out in Barcelona doing a wedding there. And genuinely, I had a couple of moments of the day where I sort of looked around the venue and looked at what I was up to and thought, this is a proper adventure.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why you get into business, is to basically pave your own track and go, right, okay, we can just do what we want to do. And yeah, if you got offered to go on holiday and do coffee, that would, I'd bite your hand off at that 2 years ago.
That was kind of, we're talking about maybe, just now, we've just sat, or we're going to sit for a bit longer, we're just talking rubbish. We both probably should be running our enterprises, but it's important. You need to get a little bit of well, not a little bit, but you need to find enjoyment out of your job, like most people do. That's hopefully why they do their careers. And there's a lot of pretty tiresome work in running a business, isn't there? So if you can get a wee glimmer of a wee holiday,
totally top up the tan, because we never go outside. I don't know about you, but I don't go outside.
No, we open the shutter in here, which is quite nice sometimes. But, it's not often sunny here. Right, let's go on to question one. This is quite a good one. I'm quite intrigued by this. I mean, I'm intrigued by all of them, but I did start asking ChatGPT for some of them at the end because I'll run out of questions. But number one, because it'd be interesting to see if you can tell when it turns to chat.
When you start to sound like a robot.
Really vague. Okay, one. How different now, 2 years in, is EH9 from your original vision when you were starting the business?
Without saying cliches, absolute worlds apart from what I thought we would be doing after 2 years. I'm very ambitious with the business, and we are just like a fraction of where I want it to go. But the first 2 years have been just crazy. It's funny, like you spend your first year like working 7 days a week within the four walls of your cafe, and you don't really realize what's going on and what people are saying about your business and about the cafe out with it. You know, and I benefit now from getting a wee bit more time to get out and about and go to London Coffee Festival and Glasgow and things. And just it's a really nice feeling to be accepted by the specialty coffee industry and without blowing our own trumpets, be quite respected with with some of the stuff we're doing. And there's always a wee bit of sort of imposter syndrome when you first start of like, oh, are we good enough? And we're definitely starting to feel like, yeah, we are good enough, and we're here. We have this vision to push on and give an adrenaline shot to specialty coffee in Dundee, but also just integrate ourselves with the specialty coffee scene in Scotland and wider.
Yeah. It's quite interesting. Like, this is not to kind of almost do both of our businesses a disservice, but like I would imagine when the London contingent or the England contingent are looking up, it's obviously a smaller pool of like high performers. Like, so you guys to be. So I think you know, it's easy to kind of almost stand out, but I've often wondered like where would we be if we existed in London? Like where would we sit in that kind of chain? Yeah, I think it's such a reassuring like confidence boost when you do go to something like London Coffee Festival and you're like, that guy knows who I am. How's that? Yeah, how's that possible?
It is crazy.
But I think they do. Like the guys that I've spoken to, like we were at the UKBCs recently, the finals, and it's great chatting to people down there. And I think like Scotland in general, the community of coffee is very highly regarded.
Yeah, certainly. And that's like it's useful to give a bit of information about why I've called my business EH9 when we're set up in Dundee. That's an Edinburgh postcode.
ChatGPT is an asset.
But so basically, like when I was a student and first getting into coffee, that was what it appeared to be as a consumer as well. This like really strong, like I don't want to say band of brothers or, you know, just like it seemed like a strong industry that supported each other and had a good time when they were doing it. And that's what has always appealed to me about getting into specialty coffee and running a business in this space is that community side of things. So yeah, 2 years later to be like feel a very strong part of it and feel completely accepted by it's like extremely rewarding, and hopefully we just keep building on that and keep it going, you know.
Yeah, nice. Well, when I was thinking about that question, like looking at the kind of, I think did you share 2 photos for like the 2 years apart?
Yeah.
And like one of them, it was like black frontage, and then the next one it was like color pops everywhere, like lilac or like purple, like front.
Totally.
Like,
yeah.
It seemed to me like maybe your vision had evolved quite hard. Maybe you leaned
100%. Like when I first started, I kept on saying, "Oh, I'm a minimalist, and I want my coffee shop to be minimal." Yeah. But now it's like bright purple on the outside, has a big vinyl lettering over the windows. You walk in, there's art all over the wall. There's a tropical jungle of plants and stuff, and it's like that just stems from like the people that are in it and like the personality of the place.
So, is that more the customers, or is it like the people you work with, or have you
it's been a journey in figuring out who we are and what our value add is without sounding too corporate. Like, I think if you were to ask someone with a blind eye of like what makes our business different to another business, it would be that like, the personality, and that comes across as quite like hyper and clumsy and bright, but also like kind of happy-go-lucky.
Super
and we try to mirror that in our artifacts. So the people when they walk into the space, they know what we're about and how they should be feeling.
I think that's important because that was almost we did like a kind of discussion podcast maybe like 2 years ago, and we were talking about how specialty coffee is quite good at trying to explain the experience by even just like the equipment that they have. And it's like when people walk in, you kind of hope that they kind of understand what you're about and what you do. But it can also be quite polarizing and a bit like stuffy and intense.
Yeah,
I think
100%.
that's where you guys have done a really good job, where it is like you walk in and it's like, it's good vibes. It's like you kind of don't feel unwelcome.
There's-
And, you know, that whole pitch of being like, oh, if we have really expensive equipment and it's like really sterile, then people will know that we're really serious about coffee. And I'm like, that is such a backwards way now I see of looking at coffee.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like some coffee nerds will look at me because I buy. Sorry, I'm just putting this cinnamon roll on the floor. Yeah, we buy equipment that's like any reasonable person would know it's a very expensive grinder and it's almost too much for a grinder. And then we paint it pink, and people go, "Why are you painting it pink? It's meant to be super classy, high tech equipment, but it is. It's like everything you do just makes everything just slightly more accessible for people, and that's like the game that we're in." So.
Love it. All right. Second. Oh, yeah. There's a few abbreviations here. This is quite an interesting one. Like, I've written, could you exist without social media? I guess it should probably be more like, do you think your success would have been so accelerated maybe without social media? Or, I know you've done quite a
No,
lot of
absolutely
TikTok.
not. Yeah, so we have completely reaped the reward from social media, and like it sounds like obvious, but like the way that we've been able to network on social network has really created the business that we have created. And so Lewis, our head barista, who does a lot of great work about sourcing coffee from for retail side of things and for filter coffee, he does a lot of his work online via Instagram, and he finds these amazing businesses through that. And we've met some amazing baristas and people all over the world just online. The other side of it is in terms of custom is that like we still 2 years on, and this is something that does kind of surprise me, is that like people still take pictures of our pink cups and put them on their story.
Yeah.
And there must be, well, we've kind of thought long and hard about why that is. But it's amazing that that's still going, and we're still getting that spread of our network and our reach every day.
So you've reached like a tipping point where it's seen as like, it's like cult status. It's cool to be like, I'm in EH9.
Yeah, definitely.
That's pretty gratifying.
It's funny as well because those pink cups aren't bespoke to us. Loads of people use them, but now they've just become like a sense of recall.
Yeah.
We like one of the things that I did fairly early on was get quite a strong illustration for our logo, and that has just completely carried us through. And that's tied in with the whole social media thing of just like, I guess like the reshare value.
Yeah, I'm going to jump ahead then to a question because I'm intrigued. Just thought, like, so for me, like starting a business, starting a cafe, it was quite rooted in wanting to start a kind of brand or like something. It wasn't just like I want to run a coffee shop. It was, so like how much do you think about like your brand when you're running the business, and how like much does it matter to you that you've got that kind of like those assets, as it were?
Every day. And it's not from a sort of I want to get rich perspective. It's more about like the wider mission we've set. And like now we're starting to really see it manifest. But like when I first started, I was a like 25-year-old guy, no experience really running anything of the sorts that we were just about to start, but had this claim of like, we're here to start a specialty coffee culture in Dundee. There was really great coffee in Dundee already, but a lot of it was very sort of brunch focused, and that was the way that the industry looked. And I had this like sense of, right, there's an opportunity here to get this really engaged customer group of people a place to really push on with their exploration of high quality specialty coffee.
Did you share that vision or like mission with your staff?
I shared it with the staff. I put it on the window and wrote blogs about it and stuff, and that has held me super accountable. And it means that, you know, like the situation where you think, right, like, you know, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, like, you can make running a cafe more simple than we have made it in terms of workload personally and for our staff. But we have this sense of duty that we need to hold the cuppings in the evening, and we need to engage in the community because we're here to do this wider mission. And that is our brand. We're not, I want to avoid saying we're not just a cafe, but we are not just a cafe in terms of our role in Dundee and what we're trying to do.
I think it's important, I think like if I was starting a business again now, or if I was like giving someone advice, and I think like having like quite a clear like reason for doing something makes it so much easier to do that thing.
Totally,
It's something that we've almost had to do like slightly backwards. Obviously, like building a brand was loosely our plan from day one, but it was also kind of like making specialty coffee approachable when, especially this was like 10 years ago. It was, I still felt very uncomfortable walking into a cafe that sold specialty coffee, even though I was starting a specialty cafe. It was like, didn't make any sense to me. But ours have kind of evolved now. It's a bit loose, but I think it's like super important. Keeps you on a kind of clearer vision, a clearer kind of focused path, I reckon.
Yeah, so totally.
That's cool. Nice. Oh, it's almost like I wrote these myself. The third question was advice for people starting a cafe. I've done my answer.
Good effort. You're off the hook now. You can put your feet up and drink some coffee. I think like you can categorize the advice and there's lots of like really useful business advice that I've been given along the way. And actually like you, for example, like I sat down with you fairly early on and you were able to give me some really like important nuggets of information that are almost like confirming what you already know or necessarily just steering the way that you take the business. But the main thing that I believe will create a successful cafe versus a cafe that isn't as successful is just like the authenticity of it all and focus. I think that like you can be focused in your approach to research in terms of like what cups are we using, what coffee are we sourcing, how do we create an experience for people that is going to add value, and how do we understand the people that we're serving. But it's also like, how do you get the work done efficiently? How do you make sure that these standards don't drop? You have to be continuously focused. A big thing, and a lot of like my headspace before I opened was what about like what it would feel like to come into the cafe, and understanding why people do come to your spaces. And we had a conversation earlier today about why we go to certain big chains and versus maybe going to a smaller coffee shop. And it's we're understanding that like coffee is really important, but actually for most people, it's the social interaction and it's the space and it's the heat and the Wi-Fi. And like that's not playing down what we are as a space, but it's about understanding like when you walk into a space, for example, the way that you're greeted can have like an infinite impact on the way that you feel in a space when you first go in.
For sure.
And the space was designed like that. So I designed the coffee shop to, like the first thing you see when you walk into the shop is a barista stood behind the till, and there's nothing in that line of vision. Yeah. And that barista will say, "Hey, how you doing? Grab a seat." Yeah. And it's like that, you can automatically just unwind. And those little like parts of attention to detail, I think, are success factors.
So like going into that in like more detail. So if you take on a new member of staff, is that like you literally direct them that that's something they have to do when they walk in, or do you just try and hire the right people that understand that's a kind of prerequisite of customer service?
There's two sides to it. I think you can pick out, and like when I'm hiring, I'm not hiring on necessarily coffee experience, and a lot of the people we hire don't have coffee experience. It is about that ability to be open, and I think you can tell from early conversations with people whether they are an open, friendly person or not, and that's like a good compass. But we do have like quite like for anyone that has spent a lot of time in EH9, it does come across as like, I like it to feel like it's like a school common room, and like people will be sitting up on counters, and like there'll be people drawing in the corner with their shoes off and their feet up on the bar and stuff. And it's like, it's very casual environment, but there is rigidity in some of the structures, and part of that is about the greeting and the welcome experience. Like without sounding micromanagey, like there's difference between the cadence of your voice when you say hello to someone, or like the word choice you use to make it an inclusive space.
Yeah.
Like hi guys isn't necessarily something that's going to make everybody feel comfortable, but how are we doing, folks?
Yeah,
Grab a seat. That sort of stuff can be really different.
So we try to. I do all these, like, I've got this idea one week and I'll try really hard to like implement it, and then I won't follow up on it, so it just dissolves. And like there was this one week where I was like, I'm going to bring in like a traffic light system where it's like you always start with like a greeting, and the idea was like if I give them like this guidance, they can make it their own. So it's like you can say howdy if you want, but whatever it is, you've got to like acknowledge someone has walked in the door.
Yeah.
The next one was like you're asking them like a question that's showing an act of service. So it's like an act of interest. So it's like, hey, like how's your day going? Or like, hey, are you good? Or like whatever it is. But it's like come up with your own storyline which feels natural to you, but always show interest. And then the third one was like active service, where it's like, what can I get you? And then you always follow up on that with like advice or guidance, because I think one of the things when people come into a cafe and they do feel, if they feel uncomfortable, they want to be kind of like told what to do. So at the end of service, it's, if you just like, cool, like yeah, I'll get a flat white for you, that person doesn't know whether they should sit down or where 100%. They should sit down or where they should wait for their takeaway. I think it's always like, hey, if you take a number to your table, I'll bring it over for you. Or if you want to stand over here, we'll get your takeaway. I think like that's a really interesting thing. So it's like micromanaging, but I think it's also 100%. Very important. And like you say, it does really set a serious tone for the experience the customer gets.
100%. That's probably one of the only pieces of like script I've prompted our staff to say is that experience of like, hey, are you sitting in or taking away, by the way? Like if you're going to sit in, just grab a seat. It's table service.
Yeah. Nice.
So then you know what you're doing. That's like...
Yeah, because every cafe, like we're not table service. I think people
100%.
Sometimes just sit at a table and they're like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, 100%. And I always make this joke because I used to work in a burger grill, and there was a guy there who watched a lot of cartoons, and he used to like be taking the mic, and he'd be hey!
Which burger grill? Sorry, that's a great impression.
Blackhorn.
I love it.
Blackhorn in St Andrews.
It's so good.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
The best burger that you can get in that area of the world. Very friendly with the owners, and I learned a lot about experience or hospitality in that space.
Yeah.
But this guy used to take the mic and say, hey, welcome to Chili's. And I do have that in my head, like, because there's a finite line between it being a, hey, welcome to Hollister, grab a seat, and also like...
Yeah, this is, I was driving the other day, like maybe a few weeks back, thinking a similar thing about like some of the best experiences you've had, there is an element of script. And in my mind, I was thinking of a burger restaurant. It was like the Keenan and Cal, like, hey, welcome to Good Burger. Can I take, or was it, hey, welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order, please? Like, I was like, like there's a reason they have that, because everyone gets like they're forced into giving an 100%. Element of service, you know?
Yeah, like, 100%.
That's funny. Did I interrupt your story?
No, not at all. That was the long and short of it. Is that like these scripts can come across as like fairly corporate, like big. That's the land of the big business. Is like these categorizations of welcomes and all that sort of stuff. But we can take big lessons from these massive businesses that have created successful experience for people.
Well, at the end of the day, we were talking about like hiring good people, and like the clearer your vision for like the culture you want to build, the easier it is to hire people for that cultural vision.
100%.
But if you do hire someone that doesn't maybe buy into it as hard, you can't really allow your business to be shaped in a different way from that vision. So having like an element of like, you know, the necessities, like the welcome, are pretty locked in so that no one can shape that.
Yeah, 100%.
Like within reason, like, or can shape it within the parameters that's acceptable.
Totally.
And I think that kind of makes sure the important stuff's taken care of. And it's the same with like coffee, like the way you make coffee. It's like, if you're like us, I'm sure you are, you've got kind of like acceptable variables for like how you want the coffee to taste, or
100%,
like recipes and stuff like that. So it kind of ensures that people don't kind of just come in and like they smoke 40 fags a day and they don't know what like tastes of like acids and what tastes of
Totally.
ash, and start like deciding to completely rewrite the script.
100%.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's that like allowing people to deviate from policies or rules or whatever is so important, and that's where like certain really beneficial things have come since we opened. And like, for example, when we just first started, there was only three of us. There was Jen and Fran. Jen and Fran both probably would work about 60 hours a week as well as me in the cafe, and they had some really like pivotal interjections of like, Fraser, I think you're being an idiot, and you kind of need that like a wee bit of, are you sure you want to do it that way?
Yeah.
But like the experience itself does look very, very similar to when it first started, and I think that's the thing that we've preserved throughout the 2 years is that consistency.
But so it's currently, I guess, you've got a relatively quite tight knit team where it's easier to kind of shape that. But I think what you've got is the foundations for when hopefully you get to a point where you want to expand, then it can be absorbed by a wider team quite easily.
Totally, yeah.
Which is great.
I think, like I did a lot of reading whilst I was at university about like culture and how it preserves itself. And there's like a big part of that is like there's the artifacts and the behavior and stuff, but like at the core of a culture, I believe and have read is that like.
It has been confirmed.
Yeah, exactly. Someone else really clever said it, and then I'm now saying it to you guys. But it's like, so essentially when a culture becomes like a wee bit more mature and a little bit stronger, like people will come in, but they will naturally feel like they want to leave it. And that preserves itself because like if you walk into a cafe that operates in a certain way and it's your first day on shift and you feel like, I don't want to welcome people in the door like this, I want to do it, you're gonna leave the place. And like we're really lucky that we have quite high staff retention. I believe that's because we don't ask far too much of people, but there are certain individuals that have come into it and they've not been a bad barista or a bad person, but they just haven't been quite the right fit.
Yeah.
And they have found other opportunities.
Yeah. I love that. So I don't know, did you listen to the Cat and Cloud podcast?
Yeah.
They're great for all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like they can be a great barista, they can be a great person, but and it's okay if you don't fit the mold, but like this is what we want to do here.
Yeah.
Like this is what we're kind of buying into, and
totally.
Like if you don't kind of buy into the culture, it's not going to make you happy. So it's okay to be like, actually, this is not for me. Kind of thing.
And that links back to your earlier point about having the vision.
Yeah.
And having that strong sense of like, this is who we are and this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
It helps you to like reassure yourself when you're driving home at night and somebody's handed in their notice. And you go, right, okay, like, it's not something we're doing. It's about the direction that we're going in, and that wasn't right for that person. If you know what I mean. So.
No, definitely. So it's always a bit of a gut punch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Here's a wee halftime break.
Love it.
What do you like to do outside of coffee?
Oh, I like that.
Which there's a question that links into this that I'll maybe say next. But.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, like a big thing of mine is like, it sounds really lame, but like on my days off, I do go to other coffee shops. That seems like going back to work, but like I do. For me, you can put them in different boxes of like going into a coffee shop as a customer and also doing work at the same time. So I do like coffee tourism, like that. But open water swimming is my thing. I like getting in the water.
Nice.
I think there's something about being way too cold and fearing for your life that's like quite refreshing.
It's the thought of what's underneath me, kind of.
Oh yeah. No, I don't ever go too deep. Don't ever go too deep. I was out. In Barcelona, we got paddle boards and we were at the beach, and I sort of like was lying on my back, relaxing on it, and we had like drifted out quite far, and I suddenly sat up and had that feeling. And I don't know if your TikTok at the moment has been showing you videos of orcas attacking boats, or
no.
There's like
there was a great tagline that came out. I'm literally on YouTube 24/7. I do work, but at night time I'm like straight on YouTube before I go to bed. And there was one that was like Lad Bible my boat got attacked by by killer whales, and
Yeah.
I ate turtles for 5 years or something, or 5 weeks. Or something.
Well, I'm not getting the turtle bit on the
Yeah.
TikTok, but there's like a shoal of orcas. And anyway, my mind went straight there, and I was like terrified, like paddling as quick as I could. And as soon as I could see the bottom, I was fine again. And it's
Yeah.
like that unknown thing. There's a good
Yeah, it's
metaphor somewhere. I've not got the brain capacity to think of it, but there's a metaphor for that, for unknown stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. Well, it's pretty. Yeah, no one doesn't want to know what the outcome of anything is. Okay, cool. And this is another question here, which this is quite. I'm building these questions up quite.
I love it.
This is one of my own ones, not
Love
even
it.
ChatGPT.
Boom.
Are there any jobs that if you were offered, you would sell your business straight away for? Like, is there any like bucket list job that you're like?
I did genuinely at some point in my life. I would really, really like to work in a roastery.
Interesting. It's a job interview.
Yeah, exactly. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah.
Well,
Right here.
here. No,
Sitting on this shitty little sack.
I'd love to, because in my head, like, there's more scope for the business activities that I have some experience in terms of like sales and things like that. There's more scope for that in my head when you're selling a product that can be far-reaching. Coffee in this way that we serve it is right time, right place, and you kind of have to be in Dundee to have it.
Yeah.
I'd love to be involved in a business that can ship coffee to America and go to London Coffee Festival and sell a load of coffee and all that sort of stuff.
That was a romantic thing for me. Like, I always wanted to have a tangible product.
100%.
Like, coffee was always just, it's gone in 5 minutes.
Totally. And that feeling you get where you're like, I had it the other day, I was like walking down the street in Edinburgh and someone was wearing our t-shirt. I didn't recognize who they were.
Yeah.
And I saw like our logo going down the street, and there's something.
You probably want an autograph, do you?
That was my big deal. Yeah, hello. I sort of like tried to lingeringly make eye contact, and they didn't know who I was either. And I was like, oh, right.
Hey, excuse me. Yeah. You having a good day?
Yeah. So, but there's something so rewarding about tangible products and the longevity of them. So yeah, something on that line of work.
We talk about tangible products in another way as well, where for me, I'm always frustrated by coffee, like coffee beans. Like you're saying, this is a tangible product that we can ship to America, but I'm always frustrated by the fact that we can't ship something to someone in America that we can know their experience. So like, we always think of like a bottle of whiskey. It's like there's not a lot you can do wrong to make that taste different from Speyside than it does in America.
100%.
Unless you add Coke or ice or like whatever you want to, but you can alter the taste. But with coffee, it's like there are so many variables.
100%.
So I'm always like, at some stage, I just want to get to that point of making like a ready-to-drink coffee or like something where it's like, if someone reaches out to me on email and they're like, I didn't like this, I'll be like, yeah, fair play, that's my bad. But now I'm like, right, when was the last time you changed your burrs? Like, what's your water hardness? All that like trivial stuff that is a bit embarrassing to ask someone. And you don't want to like blame it on that, but you'd rather want to just be like, oh yeah, that is our fault.
Yeah,
You
or
need to
like,
kind of go through
I'll hop
emotions.
on a plane, I'll come fix it for you.
Exactly. So
like,
it's quite bizarre.
No, totally.
So so that was quite vague. So basically you want to work at Cairngorm, okay.
Or like, well, to be fair, like,
Oh no, you can't go back.
no, a second answer, second serve.
Actually pissing it out.
Yeah. Oh god. In a job that was like, you could make a lot of money and then have coffee as a hobby.
That would be nice.
Like, I don't know. Are there jobs that exist that you can make a lot of money really easily? Maybe.
Don't know. I got back from a stag do. I did have a look.
I don't think it exists, does it?
Every job's got stress, isn't it? These questions are linking up so nicely, and this was a Chat GPT one.
Let's go.
I don't know if I say Chat GPT weirdly, but how do you approach a healthy work-life balance, and do you approach one? I guess.
Do you know what? Like, I think at the moment, I do have quite a healthy work-life balance, and I think it's like about being strict with yourself. I'm gonna get a red face when I say. So when I started the business, I was single, and found it very easy to work all day, every
Yeah.
day. And that's like something that you have the motivation to do, but it's not necessarily good either physically and stress-wise.
Yeah.
For the first year, you are going to have to sort of get your head down and work really hard. Everyone kind of accept it.
Yeah.
But it's only when you have stuff that you equally look forward to doing outside of work that then there's like a real incentive of like, right, I've got to be more efficient with my time here, and I've got to get out at the end of the day. And I like,
there's also an element of like, you think you're being efficient by working super hard,
Yeah,
all
totally.
hours, but actually, like, you're just burning yourself out and being less efficient.
yeah, 100%. And like, thankfully as well, as the business gets more mature, you do learn to delegate. And like as I say, you pull Lewis in, but Lewis isn't the only person in the business that's taking on additional responsibilities, and that
Brody.
helps. Yeah, Brody, let's
Another
go. Yeah, he's gonna love this. Yeah, no, we've got a fantastic team of people who can pick up the slack, and that like allows me to get out. Like when I was away on holiday for a week there, he came back, and the place was spotless, and everything had been ordered, and everything was ready. I think that's like the key to it, is finding a good team.
My experience of that has been like, I've almost never gone away and come back. And every time I've gone away and come back, the place has looked better than when I left.
100%.
And it was quite an interesting like tipping point for me to be like, like, I'm not the only person that can do all these
Yeah,
things.
100%. It does. It's like there's a bit of an ego thing when you create something that like you're the best at the job, and it's like, yeah, I'm definitely not the best at making sure the larder is organized, because I'm not an organized person, so that makes complete sense.
Samesies.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we might only have one question left. Oh, maybe two. Anything you dislike about... I don't know what that says. Business. Would you have guessed that says business? The Sharpie doesn't
It
help.
looks like it says something completely different.
Bezies or something.
Yeah.
Bevies, maybe.
Bevies.
Anything you dislike about running a business?
Look at my body language. I've got
it's
there's
tight,
a secret. There's a
Get into the
headline here.
sewage,
To be honest, like sometimes it can feel really thankless, and like this year more than any year, everyone's feeling the pressure of rising costs, and like sometimes what you expect outcomes, like the outcomes you expect from scaling, don't come back, and that can be really frustrating. For example, we've hit record sales every month since we've opened.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that the business is making more money every month since we've opened, because everything grows, the costs grow, everything grows, and we're also completely at the peril of all these external factors.
Yeah. I've noticed it's a quandary though, isn't it? You are like, we're the same. There's a period before, let's call it Bike Lane Gate at Melville. It was like that shop was like in March doing the best it ever done in 9 years.
Yeah.
But I was probably the poorest I felt
Yeah.
for like the whole that period.
It's crazy.
It's strange.
I think like, again, this is at risk of me sounding like I don't want to pay tax. That's not what I'm trying to say here. But one of the things I found really quite frustrating, and it has been documented in the press recently, is like the pressure that hospitality in general is feeling with like inflating inputs versus the VAT that we are having to pay as businesses. It's obviously there's no easy fix, but like it can feel really frustrating when there's pressure from every side, and then you get a VAT bill, and that's potentially the thing that's really affecting your cash flow. I think it is something that they will have to look at in the next couple of years, because
100%.
like restaurants are reporting that they're only making money when they're selling booze. They're not making any money on the food.
It's absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah, it is a nightmare, and I do find that frustrating, because we are lucky because we're really busy. But if we weren't really busy, we wouldn't survive.
Yeah.
And it makes me fearful for our friends who are running businesses that aren't necessarily as busy. That's very frustrating.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I think like we've been going for a relatively short time, but like approaching a 10-year window, I guess.
Yeah.
And it feels far harder this year than even COVID was different, because it was like there was help, and there was VAT decreases and all, like there's a lot of relief going around. But it feels like now you're still paying all that back, and it's like we're kind of catching up, and it's like things aren't really back to where they were, but everything's just gone back to normal in terms of like how the government see it, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
Which is pretty tough.
Yeah.
I do think with like coffee as well, there's like a limit to like the kind of ceiling of how much you can charge someone for a coffee.
100%.
An avocado toast.
Yeah.
I'm like, people are not going to pay 15 quid for avocado toast and £5 for coffee.
Totally. Yeah.
Like my wife thinks we're too expensive for coffee, and I'm like, you know how much stress I'm under. How can?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know what I mean. but like I'm saying that from someone who's maybe like sees it as a consumer, as an example, and has the balls to tell me.
Yeah, 100%.
How they feel about it.
You do need people like that.
Most customers would probably just walk back out the door and not say anything.
Yeah.
But you know, we're $3.50 for a flat white, including oat milk if they want it, or normal milk.
Yeah.
And I'm like that.
That's
is
reasonable.
Still cheaper
That's
than it used to
reasonable.
be.
Yeah.
But that's like, I feel like I did a press release last year, being like, by the end of the year it'll be £4 for a flat white.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason we haven't got there is because cafe owners don't feel like their audience will allow that to happen.
Yeah. 100%.
And we're still all
we're
not in competition, but like, you know, black sheep are cleaning up on Edinburgh high streets.
Yeah.
It's good for them, but like if you know, and they are pretty expensive, but I feel like we don't want to be the one to take the plunge to be like, okay, it's now $4.50 for a flat white.
Is it okay for me to ask you a question?
Yeah.
When you have had price increases in the past, have you had negative reception from customers that you're aware of?
No, as of late, since we've done it recently, no, but I think we've always done it pretty incrementally. I feel like now we're at a point where we need to make a bigger jump, and I think that would be an issue, but I think it's always been, you know, 10, 15p here and there, so I don't think anyone's been like hugely upset. I think people actually probably are more understanding than I give them credit for.
I think to be honest, I think the public are primed and ready for inflation. I think like there's no escaping that prices are rising. Like we recently put our prices up, and it was quite a big jump. Second time this year that we put our prices up, and that sort of thing where you're sort of bracing yourself for an onslaught of outrage. Yeah. And we had these really open conversations with people and said, look, like as you say, it should actually be more than that, and we're just trying to keep our quality high. And people were just like, fair enough. But one of the things I cut was our loyalty cards in that vein, and the conversation I have and do continue to have with our customers about that is like, if you want us to keep our prices down and as low as they can be, then we need to like look at other things in the businesses, and one of the things is loyalty cards.
Basically giving them 10% off.
Yeah, we can't. Yeah, we can't do that and continue to do it. So
yeah, that's interesting. I think like the best loyalty scheme I know of is it's not what we use. We use like Squid. Shout out to Squid.
Yeah, let's go.
Someone stole the little thing the other day, so
no way.
I don't know. But you have this image of someone just in their room, just like scanning it like 100 times.
That's totally valid. They could do that.
Could do that. Yeah. The best loyalty scheme, I'm sure, is the one when you just empower your staff to be like, know who your regulars are, and every now and again, just be like, hey, this one's on me.
100%.
I think that's like so much more like, it feels so much more rewarding than
100%.
Waiting till the 10th one to be like, yes.
Yeah.
Because I actually think customers, like I do, I'd imagine other people do, feel a bit like cringed out about going in for the free one.
100%. Yeah, especially if you're a regular customer in the place, and you do like, I think that like the advocacy for a business increases if you have bought 10 coffee for them, then you would consider yourself maybe an advocate for that place, and it's like,
you want to see
like we had with a lot of our regular customers, they would say like, no, I don't want anything for free. Yeah. And I think it was that sort of sense of like community in it.
Yeah. That was Colin Harmon and his, have you read that? I'm putting you on some good books today.
Yeah, I know. I've told you, I can't read.
You can actually read them.
Yeah, I can read.
You're dyslexic.
Yeah, I can.
What I know about running coffee shops, it's a fantastic read. I haven't actually read it recently, it might be quite dated now, but Colin Harmon of 3FE, and he goes on about how the most uncomfortable you can make him feel is when he walks into another person's cafe and they try and give him something free because he works in coffee or whatever.
100%.
And I feel that as well. Like, not that I'm like, people know who I am.
It's
more just like,
Yeah.
People, even like friends who have cafes, you're like, I'd rather just pay you
And then everyone pays.
because I was actually going to buy a pastry as well, and now I feel like I can't.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, definitely.
and also, I know how hard it is to run a business, and I want to
Yeah.
support you. So that's why I'm here. I want to
Yeah.
like give you my money instead of giving it to someone next door.
I get absolute clangers when we've got a new barista on shift and one of my family comes in, and my brother will come in and buy a coffee and a bag of coffee from the retail shelf, and they sort of, it's so common, they'll look over their shoulder at me and go like, do I charge him?
Yeah.
Do I give him a discount? And I go, nobody gets freebies.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
Nobody gets freebies.
How about you? do you get freebies?
No, I pay. I genuinely like, because I do think if you ask certain things of people, if you ask people to pay full price, then you should do it yourself. So if
Yeah.
I go in on my day off, I pay for the bagel out of my personal account.
I, for the most part, do that. I do like, I can't say that now because actually the other day I did go in and get
Yeah.
some free.
Yeah.
But I'm the same. I like to set that example. So I had my 2 kids and my wife in recently, and I was like, 25. This place is so expensive. but I was like, it is a setting that example. You can't say one thing and then act a different way, can you?
Yeah, totally.
It's kind of bad. Final question. In another 2 years, it's going full circle. Where will
we go.
EH9 be?
Let's go.
That was a good throw.
We'll be at the moon, man. No, I don't know. To be honest, like the simple answer is I don't know. I'd hope it would be. Hopefully, we'll have another 2 cafes by then.
It feels like you've been going longer than 2 years.
Well,
Has it just been 2 years? Have I made
Yeah,
that
it has, no, genuinely has just been 2 years, and it's certain. There's got varied response of people going, "Is it 2 years already?"
Yeah.
And some people going, "Like, I feel like you've been there forever."
Nah. Did you work in coffee before? Was it you went straight from SOU to
I went straight from the SIU to
Artisan? No.
to running EH9. But I used to work in Edinburgh in coffee shops in Marchmont, Red Box Marchmont. Let's go.
Ah, that's right.
Um,
That was
yeah.
a class unit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a big shop.
Yeah.
I got baptism of fire in terms of making high volume coffee.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was
I
like,
did some coffee training in there.
oh
Were you
really?
there?
Maybe.
That'd be quite funny. Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, I've been quite vocal about our plans to expand, and that's, don't get me wrong, that's not a get rich quick scheme
Yeah.
for me or anyone. It's more about setting infrastructure in Dundee in terms of giving people career progression. And for example, we had a conversation, I think that was maybe just off camera, about wanting to be able to create positions like operations manager
Yeah.
or head of coffee or training manager. These things require infrastructure, and hopefully by the time we get to 4 years, we'll be a bit further down the line with creating that stuff and bring on Dundee Coffee Festival. Like, one of the things that I get asked all the time is like,
yeah.
well, so people ask me all the time is like, what happens if another cafe sets up on your street? And it's like, I actually want that, and I've said
Yeah.
that from the beginning. I really want someone, one of the big names, to come and set up a cafe in Dundee as well, to give us A, some mates to hang out with, B, a bit more of an appetite from everyone, and it means that you're not fighting the fight, you're on your own. Like, that rising tide effect is so pertinent.
I wrote a blog maybe like 4 years ago with a similar like mindset where I was like, it's like having competition. I actually said it was one of the things holding back our shop in the West End, because like if there was a cafe that opened up next to us, in fact there is one now. But if there was, if you opened up next to us in Edinburgh, we'd be like, right, we need to make all these details incrementally better. We need to make like the avocado toast like a bit more exciting. We've got to make like the batch brew just taste that little bit sweeter.
100%.
Because it kind of makes you so complacent by just being like, people love us.
Totally.
Not
Yeah.
that that's what I'm saying about us, but like I'm sure you guys have made a great name for yourself quickly, and it'd be easy just to be like,
we could. And that's the thing. Like, we could, and it is tempting to stop where we're at and have a really comfortable life now in terms of like workload. But it's like the incentive is actually to double, to triple, to create 6 times the amount of work so that we can create jobs for people and do all that sort of stuff.
Do you have any elements? So I'm going off on a tangent here, but so we were discussing this quite a lot in the roastery about for various reasons, but about this like owner's guilt kind of syndrome thing. Is this something you've experienced when, like now? Do you have any pang of guilt that maybe the guys back in the cafe are wondering what you're doing. Or like,
Yeah.
it's weird, isn't it?
It is. It's funny,
quite a
and
tough
you
thing to
sort
go
of
with.
like. I think like again when you're sat in the corner on your laptop and there's a queue out the door,
Yeah, that's
and you can see like I'm still very much like I work the bar
yeah,
4 or 5 times a week on occasion. More recently, it's been like 3 days a week,
mm-hmm.
but it's still fresh in my mind what it feels like to be getting your ass kicked on a
Yeah,
coffee
for sure.
machine, and every bit of me wants to hop up and grab some ice for them or go and just quickly wipe a table. But it's like no, like there's so much that needs to be done for the business that you can't get done unless you do make these brutal decisions, and that does feel like quite challenging at
So
times.
tough. I completely agree because it's like you just end up doing the stuff that people don't see the benefits of.
Do you
Just by
get? Do you often get people say, "Oh, I came into the cafe the other day, but I never see you anymore"?
Yeah, all the time. I'm literally like, I could have been in. We had like up until 2 weeks ago there was 5 units or something.
Yeah,
And
that
I'm
feels
like,
like a kick in
how
the
is it
stomach to me. That's like because
Yeah,
I think you've spoken about it on other podcasts, and we were sort of brought into the discussion at that point. But like it has been a real focus of mine at the start to like not to create a brand central around me because it's not sustainable.
yeah,
And I think to a large part we've done that fairly well. But like people do recognise me as the owner, and it does feel very much like a part of me, the place. So to then like feel like you're like being seen to neglect it, that
yeah.
feels so. And
It's funny,
it's
isn't it?
never meant in that way, is it? It's more like
No.
I was hoping to see you. That's a nice thing,
Yeah, I agree.
but it
I
does
know
feel
you.
like I was. Don't you know what I was doing? I was paying a VAT bill. I was doing the rota for next year. I was
I was
doing all this-
literally sitting in a coffee bag talking about
yeah,
shit.
yeah, exactly. Eating donuts from Rims and Rimmers. Let's go.
No, yeah. There's, I running a business is bizarre. It's like it's a complete emotional journey, and like a lot of it is constantly second guessing yourself, what people think of you, what people portray you as, or like.
Yeah,
And I
totally.
think probably a lot of it is overthinking absolutely everything, but it's kind of uh, an outcome of literally just trying so hard
Totally.
to do so well for
Yeah.
like other people. It's like you constantly feel like you're representing your entire workforce
Yeah.
and like your patrons and like everyone. It's like so all these things make you feel like you're kind of disappointing them.
Definitely. And then on the flip side of that, though, it does feel incredible and euphoric when that has a positive spin. And
Yeah.
for example, like yesterday, we posted about it being our second birthday, and like likes aren't everything, but that was the first time we've ever done a post on Instagram that's not like a like, tag, and share competition. And it's gone to like, I think it's got like 1,200 likes on it.
Wow.
And suddenly you go, and
Yeah.
I was the guy that got to sit in front of the window with the cake
Yeah.
and take what I felt was like, this is the fruit of our labour over the 2 years.
Yeah.
Our community's coming together to wish us a happy birthday. I got to feel that personally, and I don't know if like the guys who graft in the cafe all day every day got to feel that. And
Sure
that,
they did.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like it's about how can I share that feeling with them and do it. So
Yeah.
there's two sides, and that's why like I love running a cafe and I love doing
That's
what
so
we're doing.
We have had a conversation yesterday in the roaster again about like the different kinds of people you can employ. It's going quite deep, but there are people who buy into your business like it's their own business, and there are
100%.
people that, and it's not like there's no right or wrong thing, but it's like they're there to do the job.
Yep.
And like you need both of those things.
100%.
It's like you need 30, 40, 50% of your people to be like not wanting to like set the world on fire, because then not everyone can get to the kind of
Yeah,
the heights
100%.
of being the head
Yeah.
barista or whatever.
Yeah.
But equally you need some people who literally feel very emotional
Yeah.
about wanting to protect the culture and protect the kind of reputation of the shop.
100%.
And it's like finding that balance of those two things. It's quite interesting. And I think, you know, when there's always like peaks and troughs with like running a business, and there'll
Yeah.
be like you guys are a good example of like quite an untransient hospitality business, and we for the most part have done quite well with that too. But there's always periods when a lot of people leave and you feel things shifting, and
Yeah.
usually it's when enough of that percentage of those people are the ones that really live and breathe the business leave, that's when you're at risk of like
Panic
things
time,
kind of coming off the rails a wee bit.
100%.
It seems like right now you've got a pretty decent.
We have, and it, like, yeah, I'm so aware though that like nothing's forever, and nothing's. You have to create systems that can preserve the place without relying on people too much, because it's not fair on anybody.
Yeah.
But like, we've got a really strong group of people. We know that a couple of people will be finishing up studying or whatever and moving on to new things. But I'm fairly confident we've got a good core, strong group that will stay for a long time, and that's like that can be comforting. But I love hiring people. There's probably my worst trait as a business owner is I freaking love hiring people. At one point we had 15 members of staff, and I think at some point
15?
somewhere, we were busy and we were creating work for all these people.
Like a lot of part-time.
Yeah, a lot of part-time, and we were doing a lot of events. At some events we need 3 people out there with us and all that sort of stuff. But I had to like look personally and be like, you can't say yes to everyone.
Yeah, I get that.
You can't do that. But yeah, it's a nice feeling being able to like basically say, right, yeah, come on, be part of this.
For sure. And like, yeah, it feels like the more people you have, the more successful you are.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
That's
one of the biggest questions you get
17
asked if you sit down at dinner. Is like, oh, and how many people do you employ?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
Yeah, 45.
Yeah. But I'm making like 20 of them redundant. Yeah, God. Yeah, interesting. Well, that has been, I don't know how long that's been, but it's probably been quite a long time. Has that been a lot longer than we'd planned? I think I said
I did warn you before I
said
started.
It was going to be 10 minutes.
Rambler.
Was that 15? Or? 57! It's almost about an hour, isn't it?
Let's go.
I've got that internal clock. And so I've got 3 minutes to sign off.
Here we go.
I don't have to sign off.
Well, how good are the cakes, by the way?
Oh, no, they're good, aren't they? Good, innit? You could probably zoom in on that or something. And then maybe if you could...
Look at the sponge factor.
Maybe if you can put a picture of Room and Rumours where my finger... Just trying to add editing for you. It's just going to take another week for it to get done. What's that? Oh, right. Is this for a thumbnail? Just getting the thumbnail live on camera. Oh, yeah, that's very Mr. Beast. Or Logan Paul. There we go. This is how, if you're listening or watching this is probably why you're watching this. Because of the thumbnail we've just made.
We need a headline to go with it. What can we say about cakes that's going to change the industry?
This cake almost killed me.
Biscoff is still alive, baby.
Yeah. The cake that made me blind. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I hope there was something in there that was of value. I think there was. I thought it was quite a good chat.
Yeah,
to
thank
say
you.
so myself.
Thanks for having me.
That was really, really interesting. Yeah, we've been wanting to chat to Fraser for ages. We were going to come out to you, but as you were here, I should snap you up. So give us a comment. If there's anything else you want us to pass on to Fraser and get some feedback on, you know, we could probably wangle him for an Instagram Q&A to ask more questions. It's a part 2 podcast.
Yeah, let's go.
Another 57 minutes. Jack will be happy. Yeah, like, subscribe, do all that cool stuff, and we'll be back for more Cairncast and Cairncast with friends soon as. So look after yourself. Cheers.
Boom. Thanks, man. That was fun.
That was interesting.